Chapter 1. Everything was beige. Walls, furniture, floors, everything. And as if that wasn't weird enough, I had no clue where I was. None. One minute I'd been, well, shit. I couldn't remember where I'd been or what I'd been doing before here. Wherever here was. A quick glance told me it was a waiting room, but I'd never seen anything quite like it. The windowless space had 2 closed doors, one with a small flat light over it. There was only enough room for a boxy coffee table and 4 slender armchairs, one in which I sat. But there was no reception desk or anything on the walls. No signs or posters or ubiquitous prints of famous paintings. Not even a single outdated magazine on the coffee table. What were people supposed to do while they waited if they didn't have a smartphone? And where was my smartphone anyway? I patted my pockets, but coming up empty-handed, I reached down by my feet for my tote. It wasn't there, and my heart lurched. My writing notebook was in my tote, and I never went anywhere without either it or my phone. As I dropped to my knees to check under the chair, the door with the light over it opened, and a man of indeterminate age popped his head out long enough to say,
"Please, come in."
Grimacing, I stared at the empty doorway. Did this stranger actually think I'd blindly obey him? Instead, my missing tote all but forgotten, I scurried to the opposite side of the room and yanked on the other door. It opened into a long, equally beige hallway that seemed to go on forever. It was empty, but had dozens of other doors all closed. What the hell? Back in the waiting room, I closed the door and leaned against it while rubbing my eyes. The surrealism of Alice Through the Looking Glass came to mind, only I hadn't slipped through a mirror. But maybe I was dreaming. It was the only logical explanation for such a bizarre situation. Lucid dreaming, certainly, but dreaming nonetheless. A throat cleared and my eyes shot open. The man stood in the waiting room now. I tried to back up, but only succeeded in pressing myself more firmly against the door. He let out an impatient sigh.
Liv Bolan, you aren't the only.
Hold up a sec. How do you know my name? He sighed again and gestured to the doorway behind him.
Please come into my office, and I'll explain everything.
I shook my head in adamant refusal, and the sincere hope it would jar me awake. It didn't. He took a few steps toward me, but when I held my hands up defensively in front of me, he stopped. In a tone typically reserved for an uncooperative toddler, he said,
My name is Nathan, and I'm your transition facilitator. Unfortunately, you're early. Very early, in fact. Since you're here, I have no choice but to process you. Our time is limited, however, so please come into my office. We need to get started.
I eyed him warily. My dream had turned into a nonsensical nightmare, and my chest tightened as I fought an urge to bolt. Only the certainty that I was sound asleep in my bed kept me rooted in place. Besides, where could I go? The Hall of Doors? Resigned, I asked, Early? Process me? For what?
You have no idea why you're here, do you?
He paused, considering me as I shook my head.
I guess I'm going to have to rip off the proverbial Band-Aid. You've had an accident, and now you're dead. Albeit prematurely. Still, you're dead, nevertheless.
I almost burst out laughing, but his expression was so serious, I had to glance down to make sure I wasn't see-through or otherwise ghostly. I wasn't. This ridiculous dream had gone on long enough, and I needed to wake up. The sooner, the better. First, I pinched myself a few times because they did that in the movies. Nothing. Next, I pushed away from the door and windmilled my arms while shaking first one leg, then the other. More nothing. I even tried a few jumping jacks for good measure, but I still wasn't back in my bed. In the meantime, this Nathan guy didn't move. didn't speak. He didn't so much as twitch a muscle. He stood there and watched my absurd calisthenics, and his inscrutable expression never changed.
Perhaps, when you're done with the hokey pokey, we can speak?
Defeated, I sank into my chair I'd vacated moments before and gave Nathan a proper once-over for the first time since finding myself in this strange place. Everything about him was average, from his height and weight to his brown eyes and hair. His clothes, a button-down shirt, tie, and casual slacks, were all the same shades of beige as everything else around here. He was so unremarkable, so beige, I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a police lineup 5 minutes from now if I tried. I opted for a different approach. Who knew? Maybe lucid dreams just needed to play themselves out. It was worth a try. Look, I know you're a figment of my imagination, but I don't give a rat's skinny ass. What do I need to do to end this? Click my heels, throw salt over my shoulder, and make a wish or something? Does it need to be in any particular order?
I'm afraid not, because you aren't dreaming.
I gasped. How did he know I thought I was dreaming? I hadn't said it out loud. Okay, I don't know. Nathan crouched before me and placed a hand over mine, stilling both my shaky words and hands. The room filled with the scent of lavender as he gave me a gentle smile. An inexplicable warmth flowed from his hand, but I didn't pull away. In that moment, I somehow knew I was safe with this man. He drew me to my feet, and I let him guide me into an office. It was as beige as Nathan and everything else here. What was this place and all the beige? I started to feel rather conspicuous in my strappy pink tank top and faded jean miniskirt, despite their muted colors. Maybe the sea of beige was some sort of branding thing, but if so, it wasn't anything I was familiar with. Nathan motioned to a pair of armchairs which faced a large, simple desk. While he sat on a swivel chair behind it, I took the seat closest to the door. I may have felt safe for the time being, but I wasn't a complete idiot.
I understand you prefer Liv to Olivia,
he said, drawing my attention back to him. I nodded, not even bothering to ask how he knew.
Welcome to Transition Central, Liv. As I've already mentioned, I'm your facilitator.
Central what? And what do you facilitate exactly? I still don't understand any of this, I said, gesturing to the room at large as my bemusement gave way to impatience.
I facilitate after-death transitions. You can't remember your death right now. It's recent, and it was traumatic. Under normal circumstances, you'd have all the time you need to remember and come to terms with it. But we don't have the luxury of time right now. Your death was premature, and I've got a very limited window in which to correct it.
I rubbed my face with both hands. If I wasn't dreaming, it would be best for me to play along with this guy. He may have seemed harmless, but so did a lot of serial killers. Okay, let's say I'm really dead. Let's go with that for a minute. You keep saying I died prematurely. What does that even mean?
Yes, about that,
he sighed.
I have a new junior caseworker assigned to me. Robert. He had only one case. You. He was supposed to watch over you and intervene if you found yourself in peril before your time.
Okay, let me get this straight. He's my, guardian angel or something?
Let's go with or something,
he said with a half smile.
As I was saying, he made a mistake, and now you're here. As his immediate superior, it clearly falls to me to correct his oversight.
Oh, sure. Clearly. Everything is perfectly clear. As clear as fricking mud.
I know it's a lot to take in.
Nathan rose and came around the desk, sitting in the chair beside me. He patted my knee, and his touch radiated a calming warmth again.
When someone dies, They come here to Transition Central and meet with a facilitator such as myself. We discuss their life lessons and how the individual plans to use what they've learned moving forward. Then they transition.
Transition to what exactly?
I can't say.
My mouth fell open. What? You don't know? Are you kidding me about now?
Of course I know.
His eyes crinkled at the corners.
But I can't tell you. Everything here is on a need-to-know basis, and these are things you simply don't need to know. At least, not right now. It's not your time.
Fine. Have it your way. I crossed my arms over my chest. So, what happens to me now?
Well, the best course of action is for me to return you to your vacated life, and then...
Hold up, I said, making a timeout sign with my hands. Just stop. Are you even speaking English? What the hell is a vacated life, anyway?
It's the life someone leaves behind at the time of their death.
He was so blasé about it, you'd think he was giving me the correct time.
Now, under normal circumstances, one is only returned to a vacated life during a near-death experience, which serves its own purpose.
And that is...
Need to know, as well. Now, under extenuating circumstances, it can take place once someone has arrived here, though it's rare. However, given Robert's unfortunate mistake, it's the best option for your particular situation.
Dream or not, my curiosity was piqued. Maybe there was a reason some people actively sought out a lucid dreaming experience. At the very least, it would make for an interesting story, assuming I'd remember my dream when I woke up. I said, "Okay, I'll bite. What happens now?"
I have a few things to prepare, but while I do, take the opportunity to reflect on your life and on what you've learned while living it to this point before I send you back. You won't remember any of this when you go back.
He said, as though he'd read my mind.
At least not on a conscious level. Not to worry, though. All souls carry their life lessons in their subconscious when they transition. Otherwise, they wouldn't know what to do and not to do moving forward. So, let's get on with it, shall we?
Before I could object, he picked up a remote from his desk with one hand and, with the other, gestured toward a large television on the opposite side of the room. Neither had been here when I arrived.
I presume you've heard of a TV show called This Is Your Life?
He asked. When I said no, he shrugged.
Before your time, I suppose. I must have my decades mixed up. In any event, Liv Bolan, this is your life.
He pointed the remote at the TV, and scenes appeared on the screen. It was my life, all right. My entire 21 years of life, starting with my birth. It flew by quickly, and I could barely keep up. Was this what was meant by your life flashing before your eyes? Still, every once in a while, I caught glimpses of some of my favorite moments. Tea parties with my grandmother, learning to drive a stick with my grandfather, my mom's pride over my acceptance to her alma mater's criminology platform. There were some difficult moments, too. Being the only kid in my junior kindergarten class without a father, my grandfather having a heart attack when I was 15, my high school boyfriend moving out of town for college without a second thought. As the replay neared the end, it slowed. I saw myself during my first 2 years of university, moving into my apartment to be closer to campus, going to classes and to work at the coffee shop, meeting my best friend, falling in love with my current boyfriend. One scene in particular gave me pause as I watched the events unfold. My heart broke all over again. I walked in on my boyfriend with another girl, and his eyes wouldn't meet mine. My breath hitched, both on and off screen. Was she worth it? On-screen Liv asked him in a strangled voice. I never got to hear the answer. In an abrupt change, my compact car sped erratically down the hallway despite the torrential rain which had rendered my wipers ineffective. It wasn't like me to drive so... The tires screeched as I lost control of my car. Oh, God. My car crashed into a guardrail and flipped over it. The scraping and crunching of metal reverberated in my ears. When the car stilled, blood dripped down my face and my gray-green eyes blinked once, twice. Then they closed and the screen went black. And I remembered everything. I was dead. I really was dead. Oh, fuck. Clutching at my hair with both hands, I alternated between keeling and gulping air. Nathan pushed my head down to my knees, holding it there while telling me to breathe. I bit back a mirthless laugh. Didn't he see the irony in telling a dead person to breathe? The soothing warmth of his touch had barely taken effect when, out of nowhere, something knocked my elbow off the armrest and I jerked back. Nathan gestured toward a cat perched on the arm of the chair next to mine. I laughed in disbelief. How did a cat, a big one at that, materialize out of thin air? I shook my head. It didn't, that's how. Rather, with its creamy beige fur and pale amber eyes, it had bleached right into the rest of the bland room, so I hadn't noticed it before. At least, it's what I was going with.
Meet 9.
He said.
She's an official transition support animal. She senses when a visit is difficult for a new arrival and shows up in the moments she's needed most.
Like the TV, maybe the cat did appear out of nowhere in this increasingly bizarre place. 9 hopped from the armchair and onto my lap where she curled up. As if on autopilot, I rhythmically stroked her soft fur. After a few heartbeats, my breathing returned to normal and Nathan picked up where he'd left off before playing the home movies.
Once we're finished here, I'll return you to the moment of your death. Nothing will be different, except I'll correct your skid and you'll go on your way. The way you should have, had Robert not been distracted. You won't be any the wiser upon your return.
Nathan went back to his swivel chair on the other side of the desk and picked up a manila folder that hadn't been there before either. He perused it for a minute before putting it back. Leaning forward, he rested his elbows on the desk and formed a steeple with his fingers.
Now, before I send you back, we need to discuss what you learned during your brief life. Although you're not transitioning in the literal sense, you're being given a unique opportunity. You shouldn't squander it.
I glowered at him. Squander what exactly? The opportunity to go back to the worst day of my life? Unfazed, he asked.
What did you learn from it? What do you think you could have done differently to achieve a different outcome?
What could I have done differently? I asked snappishly. What do you mean? I'm not the reason I was driving in a storm in the first place. I'm not the one who cheated. There's only one thing that needs to be different, and it isn't me. It's him.
I'm afraid that isn't a life lesson, and...
Fine, I glared defiantly at him. I learned I was in love with the cheater, and I would have been better off without him. Nathan let out a deep sigh.
That isn't one either. A life lesson is...
I bristled. You know what? I don't give a shit what it is. I just wish I'd never met him.
Well, I'm not a genie, and we aren't in the business of granting wishes here.
He snapped in an unexpected flash of annoyance.
Let's get back to what you've learned, shall we? We're running out of time, and... Excuse me, sir?
I smelled the guy before I saw him. The earthy, spicy odor of sandalwood emanated from him the way lavender did from Nathan. I wondered if it was an unearthly version of sweat. Also, like Nathan, the second man was dressed entirely in beige. Though their facial features were different, both men would have been interchangeable at a quick glance if not for their hairstyles. Unlike Nathan's short, almost military haircut, this man's light brown hair was fashionably styled in an undercut pompadour. It was perhaps the only expression of individuality, yet it was incongruous with the starkness of everything else in this place. When Nathan glanced at him, the man's eyes averted. He had none of Nathan's calm energy and held himself so stiffly, I half expected 9 to go up to him. The poor guy seemed to need more support. Wow, the poor guy seemed to need the support. The poor guy seemed to need the support cat more than I did.
Robert,
Nathan said.
You shouldn't be here.
My head whipped back toward Nathan, startling 9, who jumped off my lap. Wait, what? Robert? This is the guy? The guy who got me killed?
Liv.
I ignored Nathan and shot out of my seat, closing the gap between Robert and me before either man could react. Drilling my fingers into his chest, I said, You're the reason I'm here. You're the reason I'm dead?
Olivia?
Nathan used my full name in the same tone Mom used when she wasn't happy with me, so I instinctively glanced over at him. He came over to me in a waft of lavender-scented air and put a hand on my upper arm. As warmth flowed from it once again, my anger dissipated.
Give me a moment, please.
Nathan led Robert through the different door and then the one I'd come in. He closed the door behind them, and not knowing where they'd gone or how long they'd be, I plopped myself back into my chair, wishing I had my notebook with me. Whoever said the truth was stranger than fiction was right. Much stranger. But this would make one hell of a story. Too bad I wouldn't remember any of it when I was alive again, but... Robert burst back into the room and closed the door behind him, leaning against it.
We don't have much time,
he said urgently, echoing what Nathan had said earlier. Waving at the room, he said,
I'm truly sorry for all of this. You're my first case, and...
His expression was contrite as his words trailed off, but I didn't trust myself to speak, so I remained quiet, opting to stare him down instead. He filled the uncomfortable silence the way people always do.
I can't undo what happened. You'll always have died prematurely on my watch, and you'll always be aware of it when you're here in Transition Central.
He considered me for a moment, hesitating, and he said,
But maybe I can fix it.
The unreadable expression settled on Robert's ordinary face. With a furtive glance toward the door he'd just closed, he took a deep breath and waved his hand toward me. The scent of sandalwood intensified, and the air rippled the way it does above asphalt on a hot summer day. And then, everything went black. Chapter 35. Although it took a lot of effort to pick myself off the floor, I didn't stay there long. After changing out of my lingerie into a t-shirt and jeans, I plodded to the kitchen and automatically put the kettle on for a pot of Earl Grey before changing my mind. The family cure-all wouldn't cut it this time. Instead, I poured a couple of ounces of Zach's Jameson whiskey into a teacup and downed it in 2 gulps, wincing as the unfamiliar heat blazed a trail from my throat to my stomach. Back in the living room, I curled up on the sofa and went over the past couple months in my mind. Zach had put a stop to the fan flirting after our fight about it. When you're around. The cozy conversation with the bar blonde had been a one-time thing, as far as you know. And since Toronto, he'd been such a... I heard a key in the lock and sat up abruptly, checking the time on my phone. Though it seemed like an eternity, it had been less than 20 minutes since Zach and I spoke. He was home sooner than I'd expected. As the door swung open, my heart pounded in my throat. I wasn't ready for what I knew was coming because once Pandora's box was open, there was no going back. Whoever had said ignorance is bliss was right. The air, the entire room rippled then. Assuming the Jameson's going to my head, I caught a glimpse of Zach with Lisa in my mind's eye. But they weren't in the hallway.
Baby, it's not what you think,
he said, his urgent tone snapping my attention back to him. As he sat beside me, I didn't even try to hide my disbelief. That's what you're going with? Just how gullible do you think I am? Let's cut to the chase, okay? Nico came here looking for you because you weren't at practice or answering your phone.
Baby, it's not what...
I smell whoever she is on you, Zachary Lennox. and I did. Her perfume obscured the sandalwood-infused air of our living room. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back. So, I'm pretty sure it's exactly what I think.
Liv.
Was she worth it? The words, so familiar somehow, echoed surreally in my mind, and the air rippled again, pulsing even more intensely than it had moments before. In a flash, I saw him with Lisa again, pulling her close, and Zach reached for me, but I jerked away. Don't touch me! He took a step back and raised his hands in surrender.
You have to listen to me. Nothing happened. I swear. I just went to the bar to pick up my guitar. I needed it for practice. Lisa followed me to the dressing room and...
The blonde server. I was right.
But when she tried to kiss me...
You kissed her? The air rippled forcefully then. A vision of Zach with the server pressed against him flooded my mind in a rush. It was little more than a snippet, but it was enough. Then what? You tripped and your dick fell inside her?
Nothing else fucking happened,
He yelled.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I didn't kiss her. I walked away. Why won't you listen?
Because you lied! You could have said you were picking up your guitar and...
And what? Another girl tried to kiss me?
Yes! No. I nodded first and then shook my head before taking a breath. I don't know. That part could have waited, but it's the rest of it. If it was so innocent, why make up the practice story?
Because I knew you'd react the way you are now.
The way I'm... I sputtered and clenched and unclenched my fists. How do you expect me to react? You were with another girl and you made up some bullshit story while Nico was standing right beside me.
Is that the problem? You're embarrassed?
Oh my God. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you even hear yourself? You were with someone else. You lied.
I told you.
Just stop. Just stop. I don't want to hear anymore. And swallowing the boulder-sized lump in my throat, I said, I can't look at you right now. Before Zach could say another word, I grabbed my purse and keys, resisting the urge to slam the door as I left. With no destination in mind, I dashed into the night without looking back. I was afraid I might see him standing there, or worse yet, that I might not. As I wandered aimlessly through my neighborhood, the tree-lined residential streets gave way to a transitional area, home to both regular storefronts and old houses converted to office spaces. Though it was largely deserted at that hour, I continued walking, but unfortunately, my thoughts came with me. I kept seeing Zach with the other girl, holding her, kissing her, but it made no sense because I'd only ever caught them talking. Once. Was I losing my mind, or was it my imagination? I have to call Asa. Upon finding myself in front of a 24-hour diner, I climbed the 3 steps to go inside. Maybe Asa could meet me here. Swiping at my damp cheeks, I reached for the door, but froze upon seeing the face staring back at me through the glass. The air rippled once again, swaying and pulsating around me while sandalwood scent completely engulfed me. And then I knew. It was a face from my past. My past. My face. The reflections, wind-whipped hair, and tear-smudged eyeliner reminded me of the beachy waves and smoky eyeshadow I used to wear for Zach's concerts. I so badly wanted to look the part of a rocker's girlfriend. I frowned. That was... before. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. The past and present merged and melded and danced apart again, and I couldn't keep up. I stumbled away from my reflection in a feeble attempt to escape the inexplicable truth and backed straight into someone. I spun, and Zach put his hands on my shoulders to steady me. He followed me after all. You cheated on me, I said, enunciating each word in a wooden voice.
Baby, I didn't. I swear.
I remember. Grabbing him by the shirt, I said, I saw you. Zach recoiled as though I'd struck him.
You have to.
I walked in on you with her, you son of a bitch! Tears coursed down my face unchecked. He could deny it all he wanted, but I knew. I fucking knew. We're done, Zach. Don't call me, don't text me. Just pack your stuff and go. You have an hour. Don't be at my place when I get back. The air rippled violently then, but Zach didn't seem to notice. Instead, he rasped.
Baby, you gotta listen to me. I didn't cheat on you, I swear. Not this time.
He blanched, and we both froze.
What? What the fuck? What the actual fuck is happening?
I remember. I whirled around, desperate to get away from Zach as both past and present. He grabbed my arm, but I wrenched myself away from him and barely registered the blare of the horn when the wind was knocked out of me. After opening my eyes, I tried to get up, but couldn't move anything except my eyelids. It was as though my body wasn't there. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Zach? Unable to focus, I blinked a few times, but my eyelids were too heavy, so I closed them and faded into a lavender-scented blackness. And this is why I need to freaking know what happens.
Seriously? Oh my
Right?
God. Woo!